for News You Need. News You Need is a look at current events and how they affect the college community and beyond. And now here's the host of News You Need, Dr. Ed Simpson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting edition of News You Need. This is the program where we talk with the absolute best people in the whole world, which is our USM students. And we have a particularly interesting panel with us today, two international students, and we have one repeat offender who was with us on a previous show. So so stay tuned for that. I look forward to a great discussion. So why are we here? Well, we're here because news is something everybody needs. That's the idea that our society faces a variety of issues. And we see this around the world actually going on. And the only way to really understand those issues and figure out what decisions need to be made as a community, as a group, as a family, as a society, is to know what those issues are, understand who is affected, and how to take part in making those decisions. So that's why we read the news. So why don't we just jump right in? If you would, tell us your name, where you're from, maybe what your major is, and what group you're with. Now, I know you are on our track team, right? Soccer. Yeah. I said track. I meant soccer. I was thinking soccer. Go ahead.
I get that a lot.
Go ahead.
My name is Blessing Kingsley. I'm from Ireland, and I'm half Nigerian. My major is sports management, and I'm on the USM soccer team, as you said.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay. Well, so first name, Blessing?
Yes.
Okay. It's a beautiful first name. Okay.
My name is Jamia Filterman. I'm studying business administration, entrepreneurship, senior right now, and I'm from the Bahamas.
Yes, and you have a budding influencer channel. Is that correct? How's that going?
Well, I have to get back on my high horse in the summer, so yeah. So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Focused
Okay.
on graduation.
Okay, and you are an athlete as well?
No.
You're
just
not.
Work out.
I'm just not doing very well. I am 0 for 2 right now. Okay, so talk to me about, you grew up in Ireland, so how in the world did you find USM? Or how did we find you?
Yeah, I mean, I knew for a while I wanted to head to the States to play soccer, but I got contacted by an agency back home, and they contacted me, and they wanted me to send my video to them, and they sent it out to a bunch of coaches in the States, and Coach Mohammed, he found me, and from there on I was in contact with him, and since 2021 I've been here. So they do this by video. Yes.
So there are companies that do this, or is this just an individual that will go around all over Europe and identify young people who might have the interest and the talent to be collegiate athletes over here?
Yes, there's a couple of companies that do it. I was in contact with a couple of them, and I just had to narrow them down. But there's a couple of companies that contact students and try to find potential prospects that can go to the States.
Wow. Okay. And so then they take a video of you playing, or is there certain drills that they ask you to do?
It's like a highlight reel, so it would be all my best moments, all my goals, assists, all the good stuff.
Okay. Wow. And so then they send it out to various coaches who say, yep, we need a player, blah, 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 and they send them the video. Then what happens?
From there on, you schedule a Zoom call with the coach, and whichever coaches that you're interested in, and you get in contact with them. They tell you their offers. They tell you what majors they offer in the school. You do a little bit of research on your own, and then from there on, you narrow it down. And I had a couple offers that I had to narrow down as well.
Oh, interesting. What were your other offers?
Lipscomb University.
Yeah.
Southall.
South what?
Southall.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. A couple others.
That's legit.
They were all from the South, really, but,
Okay.
so it looked like I was going to
Okay,
the
what's
South.
your position? What do you play?
I'm a center forward, so...
Center forward. So
goals.
you don't score a lot.
I score goals, yeah.
You do?
That's what I do, yeah.
See, this is how ignorant I am. Lillian, you're not educating me appropriately. I didn't know either. Okay, so center forward.
Yes.
You're a senior.
Yes.
When do you graduate?
December 24th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, so you're close.
Yeah.
Are you done playing?
We have one more season left, and then we're done. So this is our off season. So.
Okay, so you play in the fall.
Yes.
Okay, how'd we do this year?
It was a little bit of a rough season.
Yeah, well, get on it. Get on it, right? Get on it.
Yeah, we won. We actually won the championship for our first. It was the first time our program has ever won the championship in 2021. So
great.
That was a big achievement for us.
Okay. Well, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk a little more about Ireland. I'm just super fascinated with that whole thing. So tell me about the Bahamas. So you're from the Bahamas.
Yes.
How did you find us?
I transferred here from Emporia State, so I feel like I already said
No,
this.
that's okay.
But
We have new. Both of our audience members, I'm sure, are new to this.
yeah, so transferred from Emporia State. I was in high school in Kansas, international high school, and then I came here. I just was browsing the South for like affordable colleges, and I found USM. They seem wholesome enough to like come here, and it was closer to home too. So
Yeah,
it's like, why not?
yeah. And your major is business,
hmm
and you want to be in what? Marketing when you're done?
Management and marketing. Right now I'm planning to venture off into management more, so I get in that leadership phase. But my goal is to own a hotel back home in the Bahamas
Oh,
and try to broaden that internationally. So
okay. Well, you're getting a whole world view on that, aren't you? That's great. Do Lillian and I get free rooms or anything? We don't. I bet
we'll
we
think
don't.
about that. Strictly business.
I better
Oh,
get
that's
free
just there you go.
Strictly
No,
business.
no. In fact, you have to pay more. I get you. So so you're going to graduate next December. What's next for you? What are you looking at?
I'm planning to go home for a year and then try to send my videos out to more teams and play professionally.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So you're not going to go try out for team. This whole video thing is fascinating to me. Is that how it's done now?
Yeah, it's all technological now. Like, you send video first, they see what they're like, and then they bring you out, and then they see you in front of them.
Now, are there European women's teams?
Yes, there's plenty.
Professional teams?
Yes.
Okay. But do you want to come back to the States and play professionally here?
If I get an offer, sure, but I think I want to stay in Europe.
Okay. Really interesting. All right. So as we go along here, I want to hear more about Ireland. But talk to me about what are our USM students talking about? What's news to them? What's big that they're chatting with each other about?
I feel like that TikTok ban
Oh yeah.
and election. So, well, at least that's what I've been seeing. We don't have TikTok on here on campus because like the server cut it off, but some people still use it. I don't feel like it's a big buzz to be like, oh, TikTok, no, it's going away because there's other social medias. But I get like some people get their news from TikTok. Some people enjoy it and do their like content on that too. So
Now, do you use TikTok?
a little bit,
Yeah.
just a little.
A little
Yeah.
bit.
She loves TikTok.
You love TikTok?
I love TikTok.
How much you spending? How many hours a day are you spending on TikTok?
No, I don't spend that much. I probably like 30 minutes a day. But like when I'm in TikTok, I'm in TikTok.
Well, I was talking to some of our students. They say they spend between 4 and 6 hours a day on TikTok. Now, as an athlete,
That's
I
accurate.
suspect that's a little harder because you're practicing. You're not scrolling your phone while you're in. Well, maybe in class you're scrolling your phone, but you're not doing that during practice.
No, not during practice. Yeah, we're locked in.
Yeah. So what we're talking about here is that Congress approved a part of the federal aid package, which is going to the Ukraine and 2 other countries. I'm just having an old person moment. But part of that was TikTok has to either sell its American subsidiary to a U.S. company, or it will be banned. And they have 1 year to do this. So how do you feel about TikTok being banned?
I can take this one. I think it would be a little devastating for people that's their only income.
The income thing is fascinating. We're going to check on that. So
Yeah.
we're going to take a break, and we're going to actually start talking a little more about TikTok on the other side.
Join Southern Miss Radio on Sunday mornings from 6 a.m. till noon for Sunday Brunch. You'll get jazz and swing music from artists as wide-ranging as Bix Beiderbecke to Brad Meldau, from Differmouth himself to Esperanza Spalding. But relax, you don't need to know anything about the music to enjoy it. It's a great way to wake up on Sunday morning. Sunday Brunch from 6 a.m. until noon on Southern Miss Radio.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of housing discrimination.
It's so wrong.
But who has the power to stop this?
You do. The law is on your side. If you've been discriminated against because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status, file a complaint with HUD. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
Visit HUD.gov/fair housing, a public service message from HUD and the National Fair Housing Alliance.
So we are back, and we actually talked a little bit about TikTok through the break. This idea of people making a lot of money on TikTok that's a huge part of the debate. Now, the folks who are in favor of this say, well, they'll just go to Reels or Instagram or one of those. You buy it? Will folks do that? Are they able to transfer? Are Reels and Instagram the same to you guys as TikTok?
Almost. I feel like some people just use the TikTok videos and post them on Reels, but then some people make their Reels and post it from there. It's the same, like, it's the same type of thing, like same products and stuff, editing. But I feel like TikTok is more fun to scroll through. Instagram is like real picture, real sponsorship. So I don't know. It might be a little different for some people.
Okay. Well, the argument is that because TikTok is a Chinese-owned company, your national security is at risk because of all the access to American information and eyes. You buying that?
I feel like we give up a lot of our safety already having a smartphone.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. Is that how is TikTok any more dangerous than Facebook or Instagram or X or
Yeah.
whatever?
I feel like probably because it's owned by a whole different international country, they probably wouldn't want to compromise our data. But it's like we giving all our data to Meta and all these other billionaires, and who cares about that? Like, I don't know.
You've already made that decision. Yeah,
So,
yeah, and I'm not sure that the Chinese government knowing what I purchased at Walmart last week has any national security implications. Okay, so what? So you mentioned the election. So do you think our students are paying attention to the U.S. elections?
I feel like maybe, but mainly for like pop culture reasons, like Donald Trump coming back and like
Oh, okay.
that being a whole like he's like kind of like an icon to like some young people because he's like I don't know why do you say that word like he's just reckless sometimes.
He's
I
a
don't
kook.
know.
Yeah, he's a nut job. Yeah.
You wouldn't like believe he'd be president, but like you know, he was.
So now, do they follow the U.S. politics back in Ireland?
Well, I remember back in 2016 how scared I was when Donald Trump was
Really?
elected president.
Okay.
I had no idea it wouldn't affect me at all, but it felt like the end of the world over there. Yeah.
Wow.
People were scared.
Same in the Bahamas.
Really? At the end of the world? Why? Because why?
Well, I don't think I want to discuss that, but it's like more of like the U.S. has like certain power and delegations over
Oh, I
some
get you.
countries. So it's like if they change a policy, that could affect other countries that's in alliance with them too. So, like you get scared about inflation and all that stuff, prices rising. If we could get goods from them or not, like being an international student, how long could we stay there and stuff like that in the States and just stuff like that. That's the scary
Interesting.
part.
Ireland, same.
Yeah, we were also scared about war as well. We're a neutral country, but still, we were still scared about that.
Okay, so the idea being that Donald Trump was a rogue character, no background, didn't know what he was going to do, and his rhetoric is very inflammatory.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it. Okay, so really interesting. Now, when you are they still talking about it over there? Are they re-engaged in it, or now that Donald Trump is a little more known, there's less worried about
I would
it?
say not so much. That like we already saw what he did in 4 years, so there's not really much of a fear as much as what he could do next
Okay,
time.
interesting. I find that bad. How about in the Bahamas? Same.
I feel like in the Bahamas probably they're rooting for him more, because they already saw what he did and like what Joe didn't in a way.
Oh, interesting.
But it's mainly in terms of international policies like border control and all that stuff. There was a lot of stuff that did happen like certain time, but I think it was mostly between COVID that they had restricted that. But we'll see this time how it goes. But
Okay.
I don't know, a little iffy about that.
So if the immigration thing is big over here, and of course Donald Trump is the main guy saying we need to close our borders, we need to tighten immigration, blah blah blah. So as international students, does that affect you? Do you look at the U.S. or USM differently because of rhetoric like that?
Let me take this one.
Okay. I don't feel like I look at USM differently. Maybe the US because I want to be able to come back and like come back and go legally. But sometimes they're stricken like those stuff like 60 days after graduation you have to leave or like 90 days and it's just like OPT, CPT, it's all these guidelines. So I feel like it would be a little scary to see what he like does in terms of policy wise. And a lot of people depend on their future in the U.S., so that could be a little iffy too, like for some people to see how their future will go.
Right. Thoughts? Or
No,
you
no
you just
thoughts.
say no? You're okay. Yeah. So that's all fascinating. So as we talk about this, um, there's a whole bunch of things coming out of the election, right? So, for instance, the one of the top news stories this week has been Donald Trump's trial in New York. Are our students following that at all?
I don't think so.
This is what we call a hush money trial.
I would say they're not really talking about it that much. I haven't seen much about it. I've only seen like a couple posts on Twitter and TikTok.
Instagram, yeah.
So you guys aren't deeply engaged in that. So
No.
so this is the issue where Donald Trump is being accused of paying off a Playboy model, a porn star, and somebody else to using the National Enquirer folks, which is a tabloid supermarket tabloid newspaper, using them to pay off these people so they do not tell their stories, right? So they call it catch and kill. So this person has a story to tell that Donald doesn't like. The magazine pays her not to talk, and then never publishes the story. And so he's being charged as a crime because, well, that's an illegal campaign contribution because you did that in order to help your campaign. So it's a little bit complicated. And I'm looking at your eyes and you're going, you don't care. Our students are not talking about that. That's not a thing.
Yeah, I don't think
little
they're
bit.
A little bit. Okay, got you. I do wonder that, like, now, how do you get your news from Ireland? Do you have relatives back there that say, "Hey, this is what's big over here," or do you even connect with back home?
Yeah, I
much?
connect. I still follow a couple of news stations at home, local news, and then my family sends me back like national news and stuff.
Okay. Is there anything big over there?
Not much really. Yeah, there's not much that goes
Yeah,
on.
no, Ireland's pretty chill. Just
It is
hanging,
pretty chill.
Just
Yeah.
hanging out. Okay, gotcha. Anything big in the Bahamas that you guys are chatting about?
I don't think nothing really. The election, of course, and I think inflation a bit, but not too much. Of course, each year has inflation, but
Yeah.
the Bahamas is one of the top in GDP prices and like expensive countries, so we talk
Interesting.
about that all the time.
Yeah, well, inflation is a big election issue too. So you've mentioned inflation several times, so you care about that.
Yeah, the money is going up, and
Yeah.
it's like they're not giving that much out, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
So how's that affecting you as an international student? This rise in costs, rises in the price of things. How is that affecting our
We're
international
financially
students?
stressed.
Yes,
as we speak.
We spoke about that. I say being an international student is pretty difficult. We can only work on campus.
Right. So you have a limited ability to actually go to work and get money, right?
Yes.
And as an athlete, you're restricted even further, aren't you?
Yes. Luckily, we have NIL, so there's a couple deals that you can try to get, which is harder to get as an international student. So it's a little bit of a lose-lose, but there's a couple opportunities out there for international students. So yeah.
So give me a for instance that's expensive, that you go, ugh, this is so much more expensive than it was. What can anything come to mind that our students buy that is like more expensive now than it was a year ago?
I feel like anything insurance is going up, to be honest. Health insurance, car insurance, payments, anything that deals with loans and installments is getting more expensive.
That is really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's true. One of the major drivers of the inflation, the actual inflation increase number, which is they report every month, is insurance, car insurance and health insurance. And of course, health insurance goes up every year. So health insurance, do you guys have to have health insurance as international students?
Yeah, it's required.
And how do you get it?
They, the DSO and the international services, we have a specific one with United Health, and that's the one we all go to. But
Okay.
if you have one from back home, you could use that also and opt out.
Okay, so now, does Bahamas have a universal health system?
Yes. So we have, yeah.
Does Ireland have a universal?
Yes.
So you don't really have insurance per se, right?
Sometimes it doesn't work in the States, depend on like what can be paid and what's not. So I don't use my Bahamian one. I use the one that the university said to use. So
Okay, that's it. And how, you don't have to tell me, but how much is it?
over 1K.
Really?
Yeah.
A year or a semester?
I think, I think a year, over 1K.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's not a terrible
Does
amount.
not cover vision
Well,
stuff
yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
It's basically if you
Basics.
get hit by a car, they'll pay for the hospital.
Yeah.
Basically, okay. Now, as an athlete, do you get extra health care? Do you get any kind of health care benefits?
I get some things like paid for, which helps. Like contact lenses and stuff like that. Just little things here and there, but they do a good job covering student athletes.
Okay, well, that's good. And inflation is considered a major election issue. So now you guys obviously can't vote in the U.S. Would it affect who you vote for? The idea of that, hey, under Biden we have all these price increases.
I think it would affect who I vote for. I think it's a very important thing. Cost of living is very important, so it could affect how you potentially your next 4 years look like. So,
Are students talking about? So it feels like at least our international students are talking about the rising cost of things, but you're not necessarily talking about it within the context of who to vote for.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So let me throw a couple of headlines at you here real quick. So another issue that the national media are covering every day are all these protests around the U.S. on college campuses. So you guys catch this? So right now there's over a dozen universities where students are camping out on their center greens, the middle of campus, to protest the Israeli-Palestinian war.
Okay.
So do our students paying attention to that? And what's the likelihood of us having a sit-in protest here at USM?
I feel like probably less likely. I feel like in the South, like we care about those things, but I don't know if they'd go into the extent of making a protest about that. Most of the things that they have protests against, I think, is mental health here, because that's like one of the main stuff that's been happening like on campus. But I don't know.
Yeah, mental
You
health
never
and
know.
sexual assault. That's a big thing I see.
Interesting.
USM.
Yeah. Well, sexual assault there was actually a big protest out on the Hardy Street 3 years ago on sexual assault. Yeah, so that's interesting. Now the national media. Now this is at the larger universities primarily, although Emerson University in North Carolina has a relatively large group of students camping out. And obviously what they're protesting is they want their universities to stop investing in companies that do business with Israel.
Okay.
So the argument is to support the Gazans. So we're going to take a break, and we'll come back with some other headlines.
Southern Miss Radio is home to Don Rodney Radio's Rhythm and Blues Show.
WUSM, Southern Miss Radio, 88.5, Don Rodney Radio's Rhythm and Blues Show, another summertime song. I love this.
Don Rodney Radio spotlights the composers and performers of Mississippi Delta blues, such as Charlie Patton, Mississippi John Hurt, Robert Johnson, and more. Here on Southern Miss Radio, Sundays from noon until 2.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Okay, we are back. We were just talking about through the break a little bit that our USM students do not seem to be protest inclined. They will occasionally gather things like mental health. There was a protest about sexual assault on Hardy Street about 3 years ago that captured a lot of attention. But it's probably been a while since our students did anything visibly protesty.
Yeah.
So, and of course, as an international student, do you feel connected enough to take part in something like that? Do you feel vulnerable about taking part in protests?
Yeah, I mean, if it's worth it for a cause, then yeah. I feel like many protests, I feel like it should be for a cause more than just a movement or like just something for social media to see.
Right.
Yeah. I feel
Right.
like it
You
should
want
be
you
for-
want to actually make a difference.
Yeah.
It has to be a good issue. Yeah. So talk to me about this. How has Hattiesburg been treating you? Are we welcoming to international people, or are we a little standoffish?
I think that's one thing I can compare to home. Everyone's pretty welcoming and friendly. I think like you just walk down the street and you can bump into like 5 or 6 people that you know, and there's a sense of community. So if it feels like a home away from home a little bit, so it's good.
Is that primarily on the soccer team, or is that everywhere?
It helps being on the soccer team because it's like you have a mini family away
Right.
from, your other friends on campus. But it helps being on the soccer team. Yeah.
So if big ugly Americans go over to Ireland, how are they treated?
Firstly, we'll give you a bit of gist for being American, but after that, we'll be very welcoming and let you.
Like, what are you people doing over there?
Yeah.
Get your act together. yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair, actually, I think. How about Bahama? How are we treated? Now, we are tourists primarily in
So, they like to kiss the feet of Americans like a lot, but they treat them like family too. They try to get them into the culture, like braiding their hairs on the beach and like just letting them dance to the music and stuff. So I feel like they invite them into our culture a lot, and that's like not a problem, to be honest.
Yeah. How racist are Americans?
Well, I haven't really had like on-hand like racism, probably indirectly or it's not. But I feel like every country has their own type of racism or like a level of racism. But yeah, I feel like here is pretty bad and they're prejudiced a little against.
I've had someone spit on me from their car when I'm on my bike.
No.
Yeah.
Here in Hattiesburg?
Here in Hattiesburg.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is dreadful.
Yeah, and the South is screwed.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Well, that's terrible.
Yeah.
But you're okay?
Yeah, of course. But
Okay.
you just keep it moving.
You just keep on moving. Well, I am sorry. So here's the thing. Some people have never experienced that. So how do we get by that? How do we fix that?
I feel like we should just talk about it more. Just because you don't go through it doesn't mean you shouldn't speak about it. And the people that do go through it, I feel like there should be people like who help them to like overcome that and like have a voice for like this happened to me and I want to stand up against these things. And I don't know. I feel like it should just be talked about more, even if it's not happening to you.
I agree. Now, does there? How do you feel the USM campus does with that issue? Do we have enough resources for folks?
I'm not too sure about the resources we have for that on campus, but I feel like on campus it's not really an issue that I've had to deal with too much.
Well, there was something like last week that came up with the FAMU sorority or fraternity.
I heard something about that, actually.
Yeah. So I feel like there's stuff that has happened in the past that's coming up again, and it's kind of creating a little bit of the division. But there's also some students that are hopeful and like in other fraternities and sororities that like want to try and switch that view of them, even though it's the past. It shouldn't dictate how the current members should be treated. But I still feel like it's a division a little bit in campus and in staff too. Like people getting jobs, certain like departments is mostly white or mostly black or what's not. So.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay. Well, I really appreciate your words and your stories. This is, I actually totally agree. We need to talk about this more. We need to confront what's happening more. And certainly when one of our students experiences something like that out in the community, we need to know about it and we need to make sure that you are surrounded and enfolded and protected and make sure that you're okay. So we appreciate that. Great show today, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. This has been a production of Southern Miss Student Media. Our producer is Lillian Scott. Thank you, Lillian. Our engineer is Triderica Winters, and our videographer is Elena Petletsky. And we are going to close out the year next week with our final show. We'll be back next week.
This has been News You Need with Dr. Ed Simpson. News You Need airs Friday afternoon at 12:30 on Southern Miss Radio.